All right, our next panel, for those of us who were with us yesterday, I talked to you briefly about why I love the idea of economic empowerment, just the notion of women feeling empowered, being empowered. And honestly, I always say that that's probably the best way I could ever describe Sonya. She's tiny but mighty in every way possible. She makes Ottawa move in ways that you could never imagine. I think she put International Women's Week together in her sleep. While the rest of us were trying to tell her what our events are, she had the entire week figured out. And during all that, still while you're still trying to catch up, she calls you on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Solange, I have this brilliant idea. I have these incredible, strong women who are moving our society. I'm going to bring them together. And she just went on, and I thought, oh, shit. Now my event really needs to be good because her panel is already incredible. Now what am I going to do? But in all seriousness, what I would like to say about Sonya is that you are the gift that continue giving. You are the glue of our society. You continue to bring women who are so heart-centered, who are elevating our society in ways that just inspires our community to be better. And I will just let you introduce this incredible panel who have taken the time out of their crazy busy schedule with phone calls, updates, and figuring out what they were really going to deliver. So please know that this panel are a great group of women who really thought about what they wanted to share with you today, how they wanted to elevate you and to serve our community. Sonya? Woo!
How do you follow an introduction like that? I am completely blown away. It is a privilege to be here today. And Solange, what you have done through Elevate International is so inspirational, not just to me, but to everyone here. It is making a tremendous difference in our community, to women, to men, and to all of those who champion and are true allies for helping to move the dial. So thank you for what you've done and for your leadership. So bold, visionary, inspirational, committed, driven, action-oriented, impactful. Those are just a few of the attributes that define the women that are to my left that have taken time out today to join us and to share their insight and inspiration with all of us. As Solange mentioned, we are privileged at Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards to have an incredible community surrounding us. And the women that are on the stage with me today and many others in the audience that are with us, I truly admire. They embody everything I aspire to be. They serve as mentors, as guides, as North Stars. And so to be here with them today is just truly an honor. Back a couple of years ago, Invest Ottawa was really struggling in many respects with how to support women in our community. And with the leadership of Michael Tremblay, our CEO, Susan Richards, our chair, who I know is here today, an incredible subcommittee of our board dedicated to female founders and women-led business. We've put in place an action plan together with many of the leaders you see on this stage today and others across our community to really equip, empower women, in particular in our sphere of influence in business and entrepreneurship. But today, as part of International Women's Week, the conclusion, of course, International Women's Day, which is celebrated around the world, we wanted to harness this incredible passion and all the resources and all of the dedication to this particular goal and bring something with critical mass that really shone a spotlight on Ottawa for the world and what we are doing to inspire, equip, and empower women in all spheres of leadership, in industry, government, academia, the nonprofit sector, media, our society, which is really, of course, the goal of Elevate that Solange has mentioned today. I could never do justice to the 5 women who sit beside me today, and I do regret that Anita Baines, Assistant Deputy Minister and Chief Digital Officer for ISED with the Government of Canada, is very ill because she is also one of those incredibly visionary women that wanted to be with us today, and she has certainly shaped the panel that will unfold here this morning. I have invited each of our panelists to introduce themselves and describe for you one of the defining moments in their leadership journey. And because today is all about authenticity, I thought it would only be appropriate to share one of my very authentic defining moments in my leadership journey to help kick things off. When I was 25 years old, I had the opportunity to join the company that I had stars in my eyes about for probably the entire time I was in university, Nortel Networks, which might not be known to many of you here because I see a lot of beautiful young people. It was a technology company where I felt I would grow, Sophia knows, where I would grow and thrive, and it was truly my dream. And when I was hired, very quickly, one of the vice presidents of Optical Networks, an incredibly technical organization of which I was not, I was an arts graduate, took me under his wing and said, I want you to be a member of my cabinet. And the cabinet was all men. I was 25. These men were very seasoned. They were all engineering experts. It was very, very intimidating. And they made it very clear that they did not think that I belonged there and that I had been hired for reasons other than my credentials professionally. And yet, this gentleman who saw something very special in me, and I will be indebted to him forever, gave me a sense of confidence, encouragement, mentorship that I have kept with me for the last 20 years, and I aim to bring that to everyone that I have the privilege of working with. Those types of moments can really define your entire future in many respects because it gives you something to give back to those who have shared with you. So that was my defining moment. And now it's my privilege to hand over to our esteemed panelists, beginning with Cheryl Jensen.
Well, hello, everybody. It's my honor. It's my honor to be here with everyone today. I'm Cheryl Jensen. I'm president and CEO of Algonquin College here in Ottawa. 22,000 students, about 45,000 continuing education registrations, 3 campuses in Ontario and 1 campus in Kuwait. And so one of my defining moments, well, it's hard to pick a defining moment, I would say was when I got laid off. I got laid off. I'm a Steeltown girl. I grew up in Hamilton, and I worked for Stelco, and probably would have still been there for many, many years afterwards, but got laid off and had to find something new, and took a part-time gig with a college in Hamilton and thought I'd do that for maybe a year or 2, and here I am.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Karla Congson. It's a privilege to have been invited by the amazing Sonya Shorey. I would describe myself as a corporate refugee, 25 years in executive roles in corporate Canada, turned serial entrepreneur. So ran several big shops, and 2 years ago, at the age of 43, decided that I was going to become a startup and grew an agency to just over $3 million in 2 years, and then at the end of that scaling period, decided I wanted to start a technology startup, so on my second company. My defining moment is sort of related to that changes, which is the big lesson around walking through your fear and being brave enough to start again. One of the roles that I played was an executive running one of the largest automotive brands on behalf of a large multinational advertising agency conglomerate. And it looked amazing at the front. Great title, great budgets, great pay, very important title. But the problem was 2 things. I hated my job, and it felt like I wasn't living my values anymore. And secondly, I was also of the belief that the industry that I was in was on their sunset. But as a breadwinner, a mother of 2 children, it's a hard thing to leave. And you know, there was a moment where I was walking with my 2 girls, and I was questioning the decisions that I was making in my life, the roles, and what was really important. And 3 months later, I quit and did something pretty scary, which was I was hired and ran a fairly large independent digital marketing company at a time when I didn't know the difference between SEO and UX. So I came in, faked my way through, got a tattoo to fit in with the kids. But the biggest defining piece as a leader there is things will always scare you. And so the ability to walk through that fear, come to the other side and realize what you're able to do, that and then being able to repeat that was one of my most defining, I guess, lessons in life. And it's given me the confidence to repeat that over and over again.
Wow, I have to say I am honored to be here today. It's very impressive. I'm glad the timing is actually a little bit late because I have been able to listen to some phenomenal leaders here this morning. I agree, not-for-profit are not paid nearly enough. That's what they should be. One of the things I'm thinking this morning, one of the things I've realized over the last couple of years, I'm in the IT industry. My name's Lisa Carroll. I'm Senior Vice President of CGI here in Ottawa, and I'll tell you a little bit about my job in a moment. But spending 25 years in the IT industry industry, I've recognized over the last couple of years that I typically walk in a room and the first thing I do is count the number of women. And I'll say this morning, it was very interesting. It was much easier to count the number of men in the room today. So welcome to the men. Thank you for being here. But it is very rare. It's very rare in my day-to-day life that I'm actually surrounded by some phenomenal women and the majority of women, so I really appreciate being here today. So I've been in the IT industry for 25 years. I work for Canada's largest IT company. We're 11.5 billion, 400 offices around the world, 73,000 employees. I lead the team here in Ottawa, and what that means is I have about 500 people, phenomenal people. I say we're working on our demographics, gender demographics every single day. I moved here from Toronto about 2.5 years ago. I am so, I find Sonya awesome. She was one of the first women that I did meet in this town, and frankly, she has been instrumental in creating this as an International Women's Week and bringing everyone together. So she is absolutely phenomenal, and we'll do whatever she asks us to do. One of the, so I have a team of about 500 people. They're fantastic. About 200 are cybersecurity. If women are looking for IT careers, cybersecurity really requires more and more females in that specialty. The rest of what we do is we partner with the federal government to help them transform and deliver citizen services. I'd say I have a lot of defining moments. I think it's many, many things throughout the 25 years, but I'd say about 9 years ago was the first time I actually had the pleasure of having a female boss. So after 20 years, I finally had a female boss, and she taught me that I could be authentic, that you didn't need to emulate necessarily how males lead, how males speak, how males present, that you can be yourself and lead people differently. So that is something I brought forward in my career.
Amazing. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sonya, for bringing us together. I'm going to introduce myself by level of importance personally. First of all, I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 2 amazing, brilliant, breathtaking, spunky little girls that just inspire me every single day. Another thing that defines me is I'm an immigrant. I am originally from Mexico, and I came to Canada after high school. I was 18 years old, and that defined my adulthood. That changed from one country to another. And the third thing that defines me is I'm an entrepreneur. I own many businesses in restaurant, in retail, specifically global pet foods, freshy restaurants. And I'm also a business advisor at Invest Ottawa. And recently I opened up my own consulting company to help newcomers open up their own businesses. So that's, in a nutshell, who I am by level of importance. And then a defining moment for me was when I actually went to school here at Carleton for journalism, of all things. And I was working in communications. And I remember I was in my office, and I loved what I was doing. And I was doing quite well in that career path, but I got a dog. The dog of my life, you know, your first dog as an adult. He became my baby. He made me a mom. All of these crazy things. And I remember talking to my dad on the phone and my mom, and I said, you know what, guys? All I want to do is open up a pet store. And I remember 4 words that my dad said that defined the rest of my life was, so why don't you? And I was like, well, why don't I? So, and then a second really defining moment was last year, when fast forward 15 years, and my father, he's a veterinarian, now retired, was selling his practice, and I was helping him sell his practice. And unfortunately, because as an immigrant, he didn't know how to open and how to structure his business and how to do it properly, he made a lot of mistakes that cost him quite a lot of money. We had to restructure the company, we had to pay back taxes and legal fees, so on and so forth. And it was very unfortunate, put his retirement in jeopardy. And then I asked myself, it would have been so nice to have someone to help my dad not to make these same mistakes again. And then those 4 words came back, so why don't I? And those were 2 very distinct defining moments in my career.
Hi, my name is Coreen Bouchard. I am the founder and of PureLogic IT Solutions. We are a value-added reseller, so we actually are not competing with CGI, which is very good. Large company, small company. But basically what we do is we help our clients work within the data center, look at emerging technology. We specialize with the defense sector and making our soldiers smarter, stronger, and defending our country, which is very important to us. So as we've been growing, I'm 10 years into this journey. I have a couple of other companies, but the primary one is PureLogic. And what has defined me as a leader has been really important. I was telling Sonya my story, so thank you for inviting me after we had a conversation about cybersecurity, was the fact that we almost failed. We were very close to failure about year 7. It was a very large build-up, a great building of the company, and we got sideswiped by a few economic factors that we could not predict. And that was a huge lesson learned. So as a defining moment, over the Christmas holidays, we had to make a shift. Leading into 2016, we had to lay off over 35% of our staff. As a small company, those are your friends that you've grown up with through this journey. And so part of the defining moment was coming up with a plan, being able to stand there, talk to our staff, our partners, our clients, tell them what our vision was, what we're going to be doing, dig in, dig deep, make that change, and do everything humanly possible as a team to get to the other side. So that meant giving up my CEO title and changing what a founder meant to me. That meant focusing and doubling down in areas that I really enjoyed and excelled at, and letting go of the things that I was not as good at. So that was one of the defining moments, and the second defining moment was our 10-year celebration last June at the War Museum. So being there, having 300 people attend a celebration of family, friends, colleagues, business partners, customers, you name it, that were able to come out and enjoy and celebrate that we made it to that 10-year. And it wasn't because of one individual work, but it was our team and being able to lead them to that journey. So that was my defining moment.
Excellent. So you can see we're going to have a very authentic discussion about leadership today, and that's one of the key attributes that really drove this panel, concepts of courage, risk-taking, and what it means to be a leader. And we have a provocative title for this panel, Leading at the Edge. And I'd love to hear from some of our panelists about what leading at the edge means to you and why you believe it's so important.
I'll start. I heard this definition of the difference between a manager and a leader several years ago, which always stuck with me. That is, a manager is someone who sees an individual's strengths and helps them realize and maximize those strengths. Whereas a leader is someone who can envision a better future and rally their organization and their people to get there around obstacles, around challenges, around danger. And to me, that's what a true leader is. And part of that, leading at the edge, is going into the unknown, facing your fear, and also leading without ego and having humility, because to be able to strive into the unknown and rally people around you, you need to have vision. You need to have followership, and to put your tribe in front of you versus simply taking them to a direction, and also the wherewithal to know where you're going.
You know, it's so complex, isn't it? Leading at the edge. It really, I think, is somewhere though where women can really excel, because Karla's talked about leading through that fear. I often say, I've got 3 kids, and I often say to them, you know, and it's a line I learned from a book from Cheryl Sandberg, what would you do if you weren't afraid of doing this? You know, if you took the fear out, then what would you do? And things all of a sudden become a lot more clear. But there is a gulp factor in leading at the edge, and that means, you know, and you should gulp, I think, or you're not pushing your institution or your organization far enough. So you have to ask those uncomfortable questions to make some movement. But then you have to really double check, I think, and make sure that you're taking care of people. Ask them, how are you feeling about this? You know, how can I help you get through this? And I think that's where women do excel, in that ability to really have that courage, but then also make sure that you're checking on your people and that they're doing okay through some demanding times.
So I completely agree with everything. I think the other piece I would emphasize is, for me, leading at the edge is taking risks, is recognizing, is being confident, recognizing that it's okay if we don't have all the qualifications that are listed. Take the risk. Believe in yourself. Recognize that every male learns in their role as well, and we can ask and take our role. The other piece of learning from the edge, or leading from the edge, to me, I think women have a greater accountability or greater responsibility leading from the edge, recognizing that you have the opportunity to grow others, to network, to mentor others, to emulate the right behavior and help women succeed and help them lead from the edge.
Yeah, for me, leading at the edge is being a trailblazer, is fueling whatever you do with that innate passion that will open that path for the people behind you that you really want to lead. It's really not being afraid of the unknown. I mean, it's easier said than done, obviously, but just going for it. Why don't you? And being able to pave the way for the people behind you so that you can reach back and have that person, hold that person over, and then hopefully you're leading by example so that that person then holds back the other person that's behind them, and then all of you together go through that trail that you've been leading. It is fueled by passion but backed up by strategy. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just being a trailblazer and just going for it.
Love that.
And for me, I think passion, you mentioned, has been a key driver for my entire career path. From a leadership perspective, I think it's enablement and changing the word from an I or a me or a you or a they to a we. And that has always been something that's resonated with me from the day I started with my dog in the basement, celebrating our first, large order to we did this, right? So it's changing that mindset from I, me, you, they to a we. And we also can include your customers, your partners, your business advisors, your mentors, whatever that might be. One of the other thing I think leading from the edge is looking for that advice and that guidance from not just women. Women are great and we have lots of advice, but take it from somebody who you connect with that may also be a male, maybe in your industry, may have a different view. I've had some great leadership coaches over the last several years. I've been lucky to have them. And I think it's more that personal connection that really gets you to that edge of that leadership, that pushes yourself beyond your boundaries.
I can't emphasize enough what you have just said. We really are very focused on the opportunity to bring our whole community together. Every walk of life, every expertise, every background, women and men working together to help move this dial and really work towards achieving greater leadership opportunity, inspiration, empowerment, and equipping for women. So thank you for bringing that forward. The other piece I'm taking away from this esteemed group of leaders is that if you can see her, you can be her. And this is a saying that I absolutely love. Every leader on the stage, those you will meet today, and many throughout your life, you can be that leader. You can have that opportunity. You just have to pursue it. So that's a great message to echo. So courage, of course, as you've heard, is a very major part and a key attribute of leading at the edge. I would love to hear from you about a time that took tremendous courage for you in your leadership role, or perhaps an example of another female leader that really demonstrated courage that had a tremendous impact on you.
Does it have to be a woman?
Not at all, no.
So I'll give you a case. It's somebody that was a mentor for me and demonstrated extreme courage, and that was my former Dean of Engineering. I taught in technology. I have a chemistry degree, so I've grown up in a non-traditional environment for women all the time. So my mentors when I started were men. There weren't any women. I was the only female in my area for 16 years. So this gentleman, a very formal German man, came from Germany, wanted us to try something different at a time when government funding was going through a similar role a time as now. And he said, why don't we just start our own business in college? Why don't we start a private business? And I said, "Are you crazy?" And he said, "Probably, but why don't we just do it? Why don't we just say, you know, if you want to join us, join us?" And we did. And we, at that time, in a very short period of time, in 6 months, he and I was a faculty member at the time, started a technology transfer institute that saved the technology area from definitely a deficit, maybe even folding, and made $1 million a year. So he was the one that taught me that, you know, just sometimes you need a burning platform. So I got some people here from Algonquin, they hear me say that all the time. Sometimes you need a burning platform, and you have to be willing to have your feet a little bit hot and just try something new.
Amazing. Thank you.
I'll start. So my parents were 48 and 46 when they uprooted their lives completely from Mexico. They were entrepreneurs back at home, and they had their own lives. But because of political and social unrest, they decided to give us a better future. And they uprooted completely into this cold, big country that we didn't know anything about. So that took a lot of courage for them to be able to do that. And then another one is, in October, I volunteered with Uniterra to go to Accra, to Ghana, in a women economic empowerment trip where they paired female entrepreneurs, Canadian female entrepreneurs, with aspiring or starting women entrepreneurs in Ghana, and I got paired up with Maggie. And Maggie was basically raised as an orphan, but she lived in the streets in the poorest parts of the upper eastern part of Ghana, which is the poorest part of Ghana. And so I had to teach her from how to open up an email account, to how to open up a social media account, to basically everything to develop the business idea that she had, which was cleaning supplies. And at the end of that journey, it was a two-week volunteer stint, she actually pitched her business in a group larger than this of investors, a woman that her English wasn't that great because of where she's from. She speaks a dialect, so she was struggling with her English. But she had the guts, and she believed in herself to talk about her products, to talk about her projections, and to talk about the impact that she was going to be making in that area with hiring the poor kids and whatnot. Anyway, so I just was in awe of the complete transformation, and I was also in awe at the power that as female leaders we can have on other aspiring female entrepreneurs. So that was an amazing, powerful moment for me. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
So for me, courage has come in a lot of factors, and when I did decide to actually open up my first company, our business is buying and then reselling hardware equipment. And some of the deals can be quite large, into the multi-millions of dollars. So looking at how to fund, how to do this is very challenging from a cash flow perspective, getting credit, all that kind of stuff started when you needed to. So courage for me was my husband, who was absolutely not in this business whatsoever, willing to put literally everything we had on the line, our chalet, our house, any savings, any RSPs. And part of the process was that he had to have independent legal advice. And so, of course, we go out, and he has to find his own lawyer, and she basically told him he was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Do you understand what your wife is asking you to do? Yes, I do. And he did, and he signed off on absolutely everything that we owned, any future children we might have, for Plan B. Plan B, which was enough cash to get out west so he could be a ski instructor and I could be a bartender, if nothing happened, right? So for me, courage was really important, and he's been courageous to help me throughout this process. He's now joined the company since, he had to sign off his life anyways. And that to me was very important, and that gave me the willingness and ability to buy and sell and go for those bigger deals, to go for things that I'm competing against, a $500 million company, and that we're winning, right? So this was to me was encouraging, and he's continued to encourage me the entire time. So that's my encouragement.
I'll go next. Sure. I'll give a view of courage from a large enterprise perspective. Few years ago, we have this annual event where all senior leaders around the world get together to kind of kick off our business planning cycle. And that means that in a room of this size, probably a little bit bigger, there's about 1,000 of us. As you can imagine, the percentage of women was low. We're getting better. The industry is getting better. But one of my colleagues who I admire, and it is a female, she's been in the industry for a fair long time, the courage that she had coming out of one of these particular events, she went and sat down with the CEO of this global company and said, "Do you know how many women were on that stage? Do you know how many women in this breakout, Do you have an idea of what that means to women as they walk into this sea of suits and try to recognize, are they leaders in this company or not?" So I see her, I admire her every day, how she is very clear in a very factual, data-driven way to talk about why gender diversity is very, very important. And then I'll extend it. Our CEO, he has tremendous courage as well because he listened and he was open to a lot of the ideas. And the amount of support around diversity across our company over the last couple of years since then has been phenomenal.
So my story around inspiring courage is actually the courage of the teammates that we have. So the group that is employees of our company. And to explain, the company that we found, my co-founder and I created a couple of years ago, is a marketing company, but it's all virtual. So it's all freelance based and it all lives in the future of work. And we serve large companies like Deloitte, Coca-Cola, Andrew Peller, with virtual teams that come together, a little like Ocean's 11.
What's the women version?
Ocean's 8, but I get the one where I get to be the person with the explosives, though, is the way it works. So, which is a bit of a different model and a bit of a risk. And I joke, you talked about being in your dog in your basement. 2 years ago, I was in my kitchen table doing an infographic on cybersecurity for a client out in Vancouver, thinking, what have I done with my life? But there were 8 courageous women who joined, who are relationship managers, and they all left corporate jobs in order to lead their full lives. So 2 of the women have young kids at home, left secure corporate jobs so that they could work a balanced life, on their own hours and to live and to be able to take care of their kids. One gentleman had aspirations to be a singer, but he had created a very responsible life as a marketing manager in a large packaged goods company, and quit that job in a great career in order to balance being a freelance manager on his own time and pursue a singing career, and now has a vocal coach who had coached one of the Grammys winners. And so every day I'm inspired in what we do, and that we have 10 courageous individuals who've given up normal life, corporate life, in order to lead a fuller life and having purpose and joy at work.
Amazing. Yeah. So you can see we've pulled together some outstanding panelists, and it's very clear that they're all very successful in their field. One of the things that we did this week earlier, we hosted the F Factor at Invest Ottawa with female founders and funders that talked about the reality of the hot mess that goes on underneath all of that success that often no one ever sees, or just a very few, and all of the incredible lessons learned that come along with that should be shared so that others that come next can benefit from some of those pitfalls and learn from them and help to strengthen others. So I would love to present to our panelists, what are your greatest lessons learned? What would you tell yourself 20 years ago that would help you today and might help all of those in this audience that are leaders in their own right, leading from different positions?
I would say don't wait for the opportunity. Women are very good at not applying for a job unless they think they have 99.9% of the qualifications. And so we tend to sit back and wait to be invited to the table. And I'd say, and I did that. I did that several times in my career, in my life, because I didn't have that one thing that was on that application, or I didn't have the confidence in myself. And so I would say to myself, Cheryl, years ago, just lean into it and do it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. In my line of business, We can fail quickly at things unless it affects our learners. You know, I think we have two responsibilities. We can fail in new things that we try. We can't fail big with our learners. So in terms of our own initiatives and being entrepreneurial, what does it really matter if it doesn't work? And we have to be kinder to ourselves. I would even tell myself to be kinder to people when they did fail and encourage them rather than say, well, that didn't work then, so let's not try it again. So that would be my lesson.
Amazing.
And I'll segue on to repeat what you said, kinder to yourself. That's what I would tell myself.
Yes.
I find very often women are still majority responsibility at home. Often we have parents and siblings and roles that we play not just within our work. And what I find, what I would have told myself 20 years ago is make sure that you put yourself first. You've got to take some time for yourself because you're not at your best unless you're healthy, sane, happy, and then you're a better mother, a better parent, and you're a better colleague and leader.
I would also echo that in that we tend to be very responsible. We make the right choices, the rational choices, take the right titles and the right roles. And so the advice I would give myself, 20 years younger is, buy the shoes, eat the chocolate, take the leap. If there is something that you don't think is possible, but your heart is racing to do, go for it. It might just seem fun, but it might be incredible and profitable, and it might be the dream that you create.
For myself, I would tell, listen to your intuition. Intuition, I feel, is a woman's secret ninja power. The many times I did not listen to that intuition, did not follow my gut, did not follow my instinct because I was trying to emulate the data-driven numbers strategy of my male counterparts, but my intuition was telling me that that was not the right decision. And I did not speak out because I wanted to emulate something that I was not. Mm-hmm. So intuition is the female secret ninja power. Listen to your intuition and go for it.
I love that ninja power. You take that away today.
Okay, for myself, I think it would be prepared, understand what you want to do, set really big, hairy, audacious goals, so the BHAG. I talk a lot about that over the last several years of the company, and reach for the stars. So be prepared, reach for the stars, set those goals, get your team around you, and get them following and working with you, and enable them to lead when you're tired. So those that are here with you, get them to be that person that steps up. So if you have a deficiency or you're tired, they can help you. And that to me is really, really important as a leader.
Amazing. So we have an incredible community here in Ottawa, and every day I wake up and I think how much it's changed, how much momentum there is, commitment and passion. And I would love to ask our panelists, what can we do as a community of individuals, of organizations, and together as a society that will help us to inspire, equip, and empower more women in leadership positions in a host of those professional sectors that have underpinned International Women's Week?
I'll talk about one initiative we've started at Algonquin because I think it is my point. We started a program called We Saved You a Seat. And what we're doing is saving 30% of our seats in programs that traditionally aren't attractive to women, but have huge potential: cybersecurity, software engineering, electrical engineering. And so we've said, you have 30% of the seats in that program. Science shows that that's a percentage of women that we need for women to feel safe and empowered in those fields. Me being the only woman for 16 years in my area did not help my career. We're seeing our applications spiking because we're telling women to come. We want you, we've saved you a seat, and we will support you. And so I think in Ottawa, we should follow that same model. This kind of gathering here, to be a woman in a room of mostly women and men who support us, is not something that happened 20 years ago. And I think we have a responsibility to make sure that this doesn't happen just on International Women's Day or International Women's Week, we have to find these abilities, these avenues, these openings to support each other in these kinds of environments, and not feel funny about it because, you know, it's a group of women getting together. Men have been doing that for centuries, so it's our time to do it.
I would say pay it forward. I don't think anybody in this room got to where they are on their own. We've built our success and our careers on the shoulders of giants and through the help that others have given us. So even though we all live in the culture busy and we don't have time and there's 30 emails and there's 5 meetings we've got to cancel, if someone asks, say yes.
Yeah. Wow, there's so many things you can do. I'll offer some of my female leadership for mentorship into the not-for-profit organization. So I think it's the little things every day. It's the networking, and I think, Cheryl, you mentioned men are better bonders. Men spend, maybe it's time, maybe it's purposeful, maybe it's priorities, I don't know, but I find men hang out more, and they create this bond and relationship and network that supports each other through multiple phases of their life, and we should do more of that.
Amazing.
Mentorship, definitely, 100%, because I know that I got to where I am because I had great mentors. So paying it forward, absolutely 100%. And also, what you mentioned, if I can't see her, I can be her. So trying to be outspoken about your mission, your passion, what you're doing, so that other people get inspired about what you're doing, and you open yourself for the possibility of mentoring somebody. And also being a good example to your children and encouraging if you have daughters, sons, doesn't matter, just encouraging them that the sky is the limit, that they can do it, so why don't you?
Amazing.
For me, it's everything that you all said, so there's lots of great things here. What I've really taken a hold of in the last little while is about social economic factors and how to make that change in policy. So if we take a look at the various industries, and I think policy change really has to start from people that are advocating for it, and it doesn't have to be only women-owned. It certainly is women-led or women-owned at this point, but visible minority as well as visible disability, I think. So trying to put together some factors towards that, how that could illustrate and trickle down to industry, and ultimately, at the end of the day, be able to help grow your company and grow your company's sales or your not-for-profit sales, because you can sell, but really take that and enable that hiring and bringing in young talent that are women, that are men, that have a diverse background, and just enabling the industry that way. So I think we could do more of that in Ottawa here, and that's what I'm passionate about.
Amazing. So for me, I echo all of the sentiments, and it's really about translating desire and talk into action. In a lot of the sessions I've been in recently where we're discussing diversity, inclusion, women empowerment, I think there's broad recognition that we are talking about the right things, that dialogue is happening, it's getting more honest, more transparent, and that's very important. And now the question is, how do we translate that into action? And in our sphere of influence at Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards, it's really around entrepreneurship. So in a recent roundtable with Minister Ng, who's our Minister of Small Business and a tremendous champion for women in entrepreneurship and female founders, in our country, which is 99% SME driven, 16% of those SMEs are led by women. 2% of all venture capital worldwide goes to women-led firms. This is something that Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards, together with our community, and that's post-secondaries, industry, not-for-profit, government, all working together to help move that dial. And that's internal and external. We've established governance objectives to be parity on our board by 2021. I am very proud to say that the team that underpins Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards is 68% women. That's parity at the executive level, parity at the senior management level, and a host of talented women that perform all kinds of incredible roles underneath. And when it comes to our programs and services that support the female founders and business, and we are in business to support all entrepreneurs, and it's something we're very passionate about. Today, I'm proud to say our Accelerator program, which is focused on high-growth technology companies, has 9 female-led or co-led companies out of 50. Nice. So it's a step in the right direction. We recognize this is a long journey, and it's one that we will take with you and work very diligently towards. Our programs and services are evolving, and we are pursuing and are very soon to excitedly announce some new opportunities and services that will be directly targeted to women founders. So very excited to join so many of the passionate women who are all taking action, both as individuals and within their organizations. Now, I know that we have been over time. I'm looking for Solange. We are happy to field questions from the audience, should there be an opportunity. Reem. Oh. We must bring you a microphone. Let me fulfill my role as moderator of the panel. There we go.
I would like to thank each and every one of you, and each and every one of you are a friend of mine. This week, actually 2 days ago, as part of Invest Ottawa's International Women's Week, we held a roundtable consultation, and I would not normally ask this question because it might be repeating, but I will not have a panel that has cybersecurity experts. So I like to ask this question. It was a roundtable discussion, final consultation to find out why women are not engaging in cyber defense. And we have held 3 consultations. I've got actually Lisa from Vancouver leading Women in Cybersecurity Society. And we had in New Brunswick as well. And this March 6th, it was a lot of debate. It was a lot of understanding, but not nearly enough. Willis Cybersecurity Academy, still 85% is male, when you have amazing career opportunities waiting for women. And we do not want to repeat the same mistake we repeated with a trade, when we were told that women cannot be plumbers and cannot do anything beyond that it involves manual work. What is your advice as leaders in technology and cybersecurity? What do you advise us? Lisa, you missed it. You were supposed to be the panel, but it's okay. Sorry. But now I am asking you.
Well in with us today, so
Thank
grateful.
you. So what can we do better to engage more women in cyber defense?
So let me start with one of the areas that I volunteer is I'm very passionate about diversity. I'm very passionate about the IT sector in Canada and that it's critical for the economic benefit and growth of our country. So I'm on the National Board of the Information Technology Association of Canada, ITAC. I'm also co-chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee there. And what our priorities are looking, because technology and cyber is just, it's a piece of the issue that we see across all of technology. And we're running around 22 to 24% of IT professionals are women, which is unfortunate. Although I'm starting to see in very deep technology areas that while at the entry levels, the percentage of women are lower, I find that the percentage of women as they increase in leadership roles higher. So I find that very interesting in the deep technology areas in our industry. Back to ITAC for a moment. What we do around diversity and inclusion is we support women throughout their career path in our D&I committee. First and foremost, we look to attract more girls, more women in all of the technology roles, cybersecurity being one of them. We do STEM camps, STEAM, we go back into school, and I think, what is it, if you can see or you can be her? And I think we have a responsibility as leaders in the IT industry to engage in a lot of those discussions to say, it's not just propeller heads in technology, there's a purpose, it's cool. You can do coding days and hackathons and really talk about the greater purpose and how they can fit within. We also, in our D&I engagement, we have a ton of leadership development activities, and then we have women ready for boards activities. So all of it to say, I think we've got to go deeper and back further into the education system. My son just is going into grade 9, and what I realized in orientation day 3 weeks ago is that technology is still an option in grade 9, which I find appalling. And so I think there's a lot of policy that we also need to help change so that we can engage more talent and as well more diverse talent.
I'll just try to answer that one too, because I'm old. I've been in this cycle a few times, and seasoned. One of the things that I've noticed is if we take our eye off the ball of women in technology in general, if we don't keep on why it's important for women to be in these fields, it slides. And so one of the things I've done a lot of talking to women who are in programs who have decided not to go into IT or electrical. And it's because women in general want to change the world. It's how we're marketing the programs. They see a computer screen and don't want to spend their life behind a computer screen. But if we tell them, they will be saving lives and making our soldiers safer and improving the economy and improving the environment through these jobs, all of a sudden they have a purpose, as Lisa said. It's all about being purpose-driven. And so my challenge to everybody is let's think of different ways to recruit so that we can take the heart of the not-for-profit and spread that in every career, and the women will come. You look at the veterinary medicine field. My daughter's a veterinarian, and I remember going to a course for the parents or spouses of the students, and that has gone in 20 years from being like maybe one woman in the class to 85 to 90% women. And so, and the dean was a little bit concerned about that, not because the best people are getting in, but the men aren't seeing what they want to do and that they're purpose-driven early enough in their school to fit in. So, we've got to make sure that we have that helping, that heart that women are looking for in their careers in the profession.
I can't emphasize enough how strongly I believe that it needs to start much, much younger in elementary school. What can we do to excite and inspire and motivate young girls around the prospects, the possibilities to achieve that purpose-driven mission? And I want to give a huge shout out. Rima, you host the Women in Cybersecurity Scholarship. Cheryl, you have the Save a Seat program. Those actions, if we can create a system whereby which at a very young age a little girl is inspired and they have opportunities that are cultivated all the way through their educational experience, through high school with programs like Technovation, where women have the opportunity to build a technology and pitch it with a business case that they create, teaches them business and those STEM skills. Then they move into a post-secondary environment with leaders such as you and programs that are actually dedicated to addressing those innate opportunities, passions, and possibilities. If we get that right, we are going to see this dial shift very, very significantly.
Good morning. My name is Elena, and I am emotionally because I didn't imagine the quality of this event. I am learning by all my pores. Thank you very much. And especially, my question is especially for Karla, that we were friends by LinkedIn, but it's the first time that we see each other. And I heard that you had the experience with Uniterra in Ghana, and that amazes me. I love it because I worked before in my other life in international development too. And I want to ask you how you combine your volunteer work with your for-profit work. What is the way to combine these two in the real life? Because women, we have a lot of interest, a lot of patience, a lot of skills, and we want to do all, no? And then how you can combine in an equilibrated form this experience is a question for myself and for you.
It's the million-dollar
Thank
question.
you very much. Thank you very much.
Because I do have 2 small children, so having the luxury of going away for 2 weeks, it was hard. I have a very supportive partner, and I have a great team. I have about anywhere between 30 to 50 staff, depending on the season. So I have a very, very, very good management team in place and systems and whatnot. And I just go for my passion. Again, I go back to passion. Anything I do is fueled by passion and then backed up by strategy. So my passion is being able to give back, being able to do volunteer, being able to mentor. However, I back it up with the strategy of making sure that I have my systems in place with my management team, with my, ABC. This is worst case scenario. If anything happens, this is what's going to happen. Your action plan. So yeah, it's combining your passion but backing it up with a strategy.
Amazing. 2 more questions.
Hi, my question revolves around mentoring. It seems to be a reoccurring theme. So when you're not at the stage to be a mentor and you're still at the stage to be a mentee, what should you look for and how to start that relationship? Do you have any advice on how to start, who to select and who to approach? Thank you.
I'll start with that, which is just ask. So as a young person, I would go to conferences or I'd see someone that was amazing on stage or in a company, and oftentimes we go, oh, they'll never speak to me because they're this very important executive vice president of something. And just reaching out, and you'd be surprised the number of people who'll answer and take the time. I think as a mentee, the onus is on you to follow up and to continue. So, so if you do make that first coffee, ask for the next one and build the relationship, but also give back value. And the other thing that I would say is you're never too young to be a mentor because I think all of us have such different perspectives. Peer mentorship is also critical. And again, back to that pay it forward, you've learned things at whatever stage you are in, and it's something worth sharing.
Just to follow up, Karla, you nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. That's how I started doing it as well. For me, going into a leadership role and not having somebody I'm accountable to was a very difficult transition. So in my world, I ended up deciding to go and actually hire a mentor company, somebody who specialized in that. And I've gone through 4 mentors, I think, in 10 years. And you just outgrow the skills, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that to me, although it wasn't a formal education, was kind of like a mini MBA while I'm in the business on steroids because I'm paying for it and I want to make sure I'm getting value, right? So, like, really, if I take a look at it, that's really what it was. So I'd say if you're interested, depending on where you work, ask for to become part of a formalized mentorship program if they have one. If not, you can go out and seek advice and then ask for the free advice because we're all happy to give it to you.
Yeah, I'll just add, you're never too old to have a mentor either. I won't tell you how old I am, but I still have. Pragmatically as well, women, WCT, Women in Communications and Technologies, they have a great mentorship program here in Ottawa, something to tap into if you're not able to find some paths on your own. The other thing I would mention, in my experience, getting the right mentor relationship is a fit. Is a personality fit. And so I find in the first couple of conversations, it's a coffee, and you get an understanding of whether you have similar values or not, and similar goals, similar type of expectations as a person, and I think that's very critical. Being mentored by someone that you're not aligned with, it may not be as successful for you.
You know, I talked earlier about this type of room and being in a room with women. I would challenge all of you here not to let this go. So you should each one of you here should find 5 people that you don't know and take them for coffee sometime in the next 6 months. You may not have a coffee with them again, but you may hit it off as a mentor and mentee. or you might be able to teach them something as well. So, you know, it's all great to have fun here and learn a lot for a day, but that's my challenge to you is find 5 people to have a coffee with. The coffee, you know, if you can't afford a company to mentor you, you can afford a coffee.
And if I could add as well, oftentimes we're looking for established things, a conference, an event. Someone has created an official mentorship thing. What I've often done in parts of my life is I've created dinners with a few small peers, and it's growing. And so I come from Toronto, but I've been adopted by Ottawa because everybody's so nice here. And one of the things I created is a supper club that I run every 8 weeks called Tech and Tequila, and it's 50 of us. Yeah, exactly. Come on over. Come on over. But it's 50 executives, all who lead innovation and disruption. We have a number of entrepreneurs and funders. And all I did was I reached out to 10 people who I knew, and I said, hey, I've got this crazy idea. We all know pockets. Let's get together, talk about deal flow, who's out there. And they're in. The tequila, I think, helped. But it grew from I think, we started with about 15 people. The last one, we did a session on med tech and neurotech and mental well-being, and we actually had 3 people from Ottawa come in and join us. But that movement grows, and all it is the organization of booking a date, booking a dinner place, and figuring out a topic, and people will come if you are providing value to each other. So make your own.
And maybe I'll just conclude, because I see our Mistress of Ceremonies is going to be concluding our panel. I think every single individual in this room has an opportunity to make an impact, regardless of your role, regardless of where you're at in your stage of life. We, of course, know that organizations perform better, they're more profitable, they're more productive, with a host of different insights, expertise. That diversity and inclusion is so critical to that outcome and that impact. But every individual here can have an impact. Even a conversation, every action we take has an impact. So I hope that you will take away some of the incredible lessons learned. These women inspire me every single day. I'm certain they've inspired you. Please take away some of the gems that they shared with you and put them to work in your sphere of influence so that you can help others.